Try that again with my mic not muted. Hello, good evening again, yet again, good evening. You already know who it is. It's your best friend, your next door neighbor, your good Judy, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your nephew, and recently your great auntie. My name is Norman J. Liverpool IV, and I'm coming to you authentically, unapologetically, and unashamed, honey, from the Over the Top Living studios in my apartment. I want to thank you so very much for tuning in to another edition of What's the LGBT? And baby, when I tell you we have a show planned for you tonight. So take a minute, hit share. That little thing with the arrow, hit share. Don't be stingy with this good stuff. Hit share, like, subscribe. If you're in the room, let me know you're in here. Let's see who we got. Hey, Daniel. Daniel is part of our Council of Gunkles, which will be on the last Wednesday of this month, which is our monthly roundtable. All right. Hello, Miss Asia Jamal. Thank you so much for being in the room. If you're in the room, let me know you're here. Drop a heart and say hello to me. You know I'd like to speak. All right. Very quickly, we're going to get on into our show. All right, Jose Garcia, my bestie. Hey, girl, hey. So let's get right into it, y'all. So I've been talking a lot about my master class, which I'm really excited about. That is going to be this Saturday. And it is, I think I only have 4 spots left. Hold on, I can check really quick. We're going to see. So I actually have 5 spots left for the masterclass this weekend. You can go to bit.ly / confidence unlocked. The 4 things you're gonna, oh, I guess that's 10. The 4 things you're gonna walk away from is how to own your shit, walk in next level confidence, stand out and shine, and unleash your unicorn power. The price, I kept the early bird pricing throughout, so it's only $47 for the 2-hour intensive masterclass. If you're not able to make the masterclass, that's totally fine. I do offer hot seat coaching packages where you're able to work with me one-on-one to find your voice, choose your impact, and share your story. I invite you to call my offices at 702-826-1299 or email me directly at norman@overthetopliving.com so that we can book your exploration call to see if working together would be a good fit. So before we get into the nitty gritty, honey, I gotta tell you the views and opinions expressed by the guests of What's the LGBT are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of What's the LGBT, Over the Top Living, or me, Norman J. Liverpool IV. Okay? Tonight's sponsor is LIE International. It stands for Liberate, Innovate, and Elevate. Join me and LIE International on November 14th for the Mind, Body, and Business Expo. Several speakers, including me, will be featured. There will be music, raffles, and good food. We are also looking for donations. So take a look at the flyer. We're collecting toiletry items and personal care items for children who are in foster care. So all of the information is here. I'm going to drop the donor link down below after the show. So if you want to donate either your time, your money, or toiletry or personal care items, that you will have that available for you. So before I introduce my special guest, honey, it's time for the segment I call the gag, honey. So for the past 2 years, residents in the small Rocky Mountain town of Heber City, Utah, have seen their main streets bedecked with rainbow banners in celebration of Pride Month in June. However, after the city council voted for a controversial ordinance regulating banners, LGBTQ advocates said that they fear the colorful displays will be a thing of the past. It's like a slap in the face, says Allison Phillips Belknap, a 47 local real estate attorney who raised $3,500, through GoFundMe to purchase and install the banners on the city lampposts. This new ordinance passed in August requires banner applications to be reviewed by the city manager with appeals submitted to the council for review. Any event or message promoted on the signage must be sponsored by Heber City, Wasatch County, or the Heber Valley Chamber of Commerce, and events must be both non-political and non-profit. Due to the ongoing debate within the community over whether pride banners are political speech, and since the new ordinance bans political banners, it is unclear whether city officials will approve them next June. Heber City Mayor Kelleen Potter, she's the mother of two LGBTQ teens, and she opposed the ordinance. It has pretty much eliminated the option of private citizens funding banners and requesting them to be hung on Main Street unless they are able to get sponsorship for the city, the county, or the chamber. And that sponsorship means some financial sponsorship, she said. So, honey, Heber City, Utah, I'm gonna need y'all to get it together. Let the people hang their flags up, girl. Okay? What's going on there? I don't understand what's happening. But that's our gag moment. So now is the time for us to do what we came to do. I want to introduce my special guest to you. So my first special guest, his name is James Santana. He's a driven community and business leader with more than 17 years of experience in organizational development. He has a passion for supporting and developing people reach their full potential. He enjoys building teams, driving for results, striving to exceed an organization's missions and goals. He has worked with political campaigns, small to large, businesses, and nonprofit organizations from the local and national levels. In his free time, he enjoys traveling, exercise, and reading. He loves his family and friends very much and appreciates everyone that is supporting him along his journey. My next guest is the one and only Miss Charmaine Barnett, honey. She says, I'm a 37-year-old bisexual woman originally from Tucson, Arizona, where I currently reside. I work as an insurance agent for Geico and married to her husband, Jermaine, since 2016, but they have been together since 2008. They met in Las Vegas while attending culinary school. They currently do not have any children of their own, but they adopted their nephew, Ian, when he was 14. She worked as a sous chef for many years. She also helps her friend get their business off the ground, but with the prospect of adopting their nephew, she needs more stability. So here I am in insurance. My passion is and always will be the arts. I've known I was queer since I was a child. I came out to my parents when I was 14 as a lesbian, but it wasn't until I dealt with some childhood trauma that I was able to explore my feelings for men. Wow. All right. I know we're going to get into that. And then last but certainly not least is not only my next special guest, but someone I'm proud to call friend. His name is Gabriel Mares. He's 53 years old, originally from beautiful San Fernando Valley, California. He says, I moved to Las Vegas 30 years ago. I was in retail for 33 years, but now he is an Uber driver and he loves it. He's been a single dad for the past 9 years to his two amazing children, Jacob, 22, and his daughter, Sierra, who is 15. He comes from a family of 14 in which he is number 8. He said he'd come out as bi when he was 21 years old. His first relationship was with his boyfriend for 7 years. His second long-term relationship was with his wife for 10 years. He says, I'm addicted to movies and TV. I love anything outdoors, hiking, camping, off-road, and the beach. All right, so we're getting ready. Oh, yay, James. Thank you so much, Madeline Becker, for tuning in. Make sure you hit a like and subscribe. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my special guest on. We've got James and Charmaine and Gabriel. Charmaine is frozen. All right, well, we're going to bring her on when her connectivity improves. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Wonderful. How about yourself, Norman?
Always good. Always good. So I'm going to try to add her again. Oh, there, wait. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Oh, she muted herself. Oh, she was moving. She's frozen again. All right, well, we're going to let her connect. In the meantime, I want to share an article with you that I read earlier today, and it was from the American Psychological Association. The term bisexual is used to describe a person who experiences emotional, romantic, and/or sexual attractions to or engages in romantic or sexual relationships with more than one sex or gender. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported in a 2016 publication that 1.3% of women, and 1.9% of men said they were homosexual, gay, or lesbian, and that 5.5% of women and 2% of men said they were bisexual. These findings indicate that bisexual people may comprise the largest single group in the LGBTQ community for both men and women. Nevertheless, many people believe that bisexuality does not really exist, and bisexual people suffer by invisibility or erasure and by negativity from both the lesbian and gay community and the heterosexual community, which may explain evidence suggesting higher rates of health disparities bisexuals experience compared to either. Now, this is where it gooped me. So I didn't realize this. So, according to the American Psychological Association, bisexual people are significantly less out to their family and friends, and it also says that bisexual people are more likely than lesbian and gay people to experience disparities in terms of poverty, employment, violence, and health. I never knew all of this. And so that is why we are having the show tonight. Charmaine, if you're watching, come back in, girl. Come back in. So we're just going to go ahead and kick this off with the guest that I have on in stage now, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties. So let's start by asking the question, and I'll start with James. What was your coming out like? Like, did you come out as bisexual? Did you come out as bi? Like, what? Give us a little bit of an idea of what your coming out looked like.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me, Norman. I'm so glad to be a part of your show. I avidly watch, and I'm glad to be here. My coming out story was actually really easy. It didn't really have a lot of disruptors or a lot of sadness to it. I know that there was some internal conflict that I had growing up. Always was told that I talked different. I remember elementary school and middle school. I was constantly asked the question if I was gay, and I never really even knew what gay was. But I think being asked so much, it really made me feel like, well, if I was, I don't really feel like it's a problem. I ended up throughout high school having a girlfriend, and I was with her throughout the beginning of college for about 6 years. And it wasn't until the end of that relationship that I started to to be able to just communicate that I knew I've always been different. I knew that there's always been something different about me. Um, and I identified as bisexual. So that was about 20 or 21 that I ended up coming out. The funny fact, and if my mom is watching, I'm sorry, but I remember telling her over dinner. I took her to dinner, and she was sad. She did start crying, and then she asked me what my girlfriend did to me in order to make me this way. And right after that, I ended up meeting and entering a relationship with my then boyfriend. And I was with him for a very long time. It was 8 years. Um, Bringing you up to speed now, I've been engaged to in my new relationship with my fiance, Jeff. He's amazing. It's been about 2.5 years that we've been together. So coming out story was actually pretty easy for me. A lot of comforting family and friends.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, James. Gabriel, tell us about your coming out story. I know that you mentioned that you in your bio when you came out, but what was coming out like for you? And did you come out as gay or bisexual, or what did that look like?
Well, Norman, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on and with all the other guests and taking time out to talk about bisexual issues and what it has to be a part of the LGBTQ community. A lot of people, they think you're either one way or the other, you're going through a phase and all that stuff. But, I truly believe I was born this way. So I was 21 years old. And of course, it was a different time. It was in the 80s, 1988. Um, I had seen my first lover, who I was together for 7 years. We met in North Hollywood. Um, came out to my family. It was different because it was, a different time. Uh, my father wasn't very accepting for it. Didn't talk to me for about a year, but eventually we did start got together, and it got through it. That he told me, "I love you." I don't approve of it, but I love you. You're my son, and that right there really resonated with me to help me to really be able to go on and try and explain to other people about my lifestyle. Because when you tell someone you're bi, a lot of the guys, if it's a man, they hear you're gay. Women, they hear, oh, good friend. So it's different. So with my family, I started telling all my brothers and sisters, since I had a big family, um, they all had different outcomes, and eventually they all came around. And I have maybe a few out of them all that are still kind of questionable. But I'm 53 years old now, and I've made my life out here in Vegas. I have two wonderful kids. And like I said, my second relationship, my first relationship, I was 21 till I was like 27. uh, and then I was single for 5 years. And then my second relationship with my wife, I met her at the free zone. All places you would imagine, the free zone. And 1990, no, 2001, had a great marriage, but unfortunately didn't stay great. We're still good friends. Uh, and yeah, she's bisexual as well. And our children know, our families know. And it's not something that we wear on our sleeves. It's something that, it just happens to be that, I want to be comfortable with a person, not what's in between their legs, but what's inside their head, what's in their heart. That's how I look at a person. If I'm with a guy, then I'm a practicing homosexual. If I'm with a woman, then I'm a practicing heterosexual. And I want to be able to have somebody that everybody wants to have that connection, do those things that bring joy to each other's lives. So that's pretty much how I came out to my family, and they were all pretty much accepting at first because they all pretty much realized and kind of noticed though. And it was funny, some of them even said, "Oh, I knew," "Oh, I know," and I'm like, "Well, thanks for telling me."
Wow, wow. Gabe, thank you so much for sharing that. Those of you that don't know, Gabe and I met about 9 years ago at Flex Lounge, which was back then, that was like the meeting spot. Like, I don't care where you went anywhere else, we met at Flex. And then we would go and do, whatever else we would do. But I've known Gabe for almost a decade. And thank you so much for being here. Now,
Thank you for
Charmaine,
having
honey,
me.
I am so happy for Charmaine because I really wanted a female perspective tonight. And I'm so happy that you volunteered and agreed to be on the show. So, talk to us a little bit about what coming out was like for you. Did you come out as bi, lesbian? What was that like for you?
Well, again, I want to also thank you for covering this because I think it is important to talk about bisexuality because, like everyone else has said, you're accused of it being just a phase, which was what my mom said when I told my mother. She was like, well, it's just a phase. Everybody goes through the phase. And my father was the total opposite. He didn't want to hear anything about it. He actually put his fingers in his ears and he said, you know, because I came out actually as a lesbian to my family. I told them that I was gay, and my dad said, "I don't want to know. It's none of my business what you do. Don't tell me. This conversation is over. I hope you're happy." Like that was the end of the conversation. And my mom, she is a lot more liberal in the respect that she basically told me that she just wanted me to be happy. And as long as I was loved, that was all that mattered. As long as whoever it was treated me well, then that was what would make her happy for me. But again, it's always, especially as a woman, you're just accused of being a whore, obviously. Like, oh, you can't choose. You just want to fuck everything. And honestly, I did have feelings for both, men and women at a very young age. Like, I remember watching certain movies and finding the woman very attractive. And, there were certain male figures in my life that I found very attractive too. But like I said, until I dealt with trauma, I was, raped at 12 by somebody that was supposed to be a trusted, person in our family. And again, at 9, another person in the family, so when you have those trust issues, that maybe sex is a weapon, you can't go there in terms of a relationship with a man. So I thought, well, women, that's it. But once I could recognize that it was the trauma that was preventing me from exploring a relationship with a man, I was able to, you know, go both. I have dated, I've been in 3 serious relationships with women, I've been in 3 serious relationships with men. And again, it's just the stigma of like, you can't make up your mind, or, you have to be one or the other. And
Right.
touching on what Gabe said, it's what's in the person's heart. That's how I feel. I don't care what's between the person's legs. I care what's between their ears. I want to know what they're thinking. Can I have a good conversation with you? If I can't have a conversation or laugh with you, like, we can't even think about a relationship, So that's the basis. It's not your gender, it's not how you identify. To me, it's the person that you are.
Now,
So,
Charmaine, you're married now, right?
yes, I am. I'm married to a
Okay.
man. Hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to pose this question to you,
Hmm.
and I want you all to understand too, and to all of the people that are watching, that this is an opportunity for not only for us to share our stories, but to learn and grow. And a lot of times, people will come onto the show sincerely because they want to learn. This is something that they've never been exposed to, and they truly want to learn. So I appreciate you all being open to the questions. So, for you, Charmaine, I'm going to pose this question to you for Dr. Gina Franklin Liverpool. As if you couldn't tell, that's my mother. And her question is: can bisexual individuals marry and stay committed? So I'm going to give that to you, and I'm going to leave Charmaine. I'm going to leave this on the screen because you're married and bisexual. So I would like you to kick this off.
See, I think that's also another misconception about sexuality, right? Like, if you choose to live a monogamous lifestyle, that's a choice, right? Like, choosing to be in a monogamous relationship is something that I've always chosen to do. It's not I'm not the type of person that would want to cheat. Now, if I'm being 100% honest, my husband and I have been together for almost 13 years. And it's not, I won't say that we've talked about adding another person, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities that we could explore something freaky down the way, But in terms of staying in a committed relationship, that is a choice in and of itself outside of your sexuality, I feel like.
I have to remember I'm muting myself. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you, Dr. Gina Franklin Liverpool, for that question. I think that that's important. We have another question, and again, this is from my boyfriend, and he says, "I'm going to ask the question for those who may not completely understand this, but can we talk about the difference between being bisexual and pansexual?" So I'm going to give that to James. Oh, wait, I gotta unmute you. There you go.
Yeah, so I wish I was the best person to answer this question, but I think bisexuality is just also kind of fitting um, into the realm of being again a part of the LGBTQ community. Pansexuality is kind of the idea, and I don't want to use the word preference because that was used today, and that's not a good word. It's the orientation of just not being limited to biology. So I think it has more of an emphasis around biology, where bisexuality, it kind of historically has always taken us back to what is like the Kinsey scale of sexuality, I think primarily it's kind of, again, that dichotomy of like men and women, and that's a preference, where I think pansexuality is more of a lifestyle of not being tied to biology, biological tendencies and biological appearance, nature, stuff like that. I hope I answered that correctly.
Okay, and if we have any viewers that identify as pansexual, I would invite you to chime in. And I think maybe that should be one of our next episodes. I want to explore that a little bit more. We have another. Excuse me. This Bud Light thing is making me burpy. We have another question from Dr. Gina Franklin, Liverpool, and it says, "What is appealing to you? Is it different with a guy and with a girl? And is bisexual still gay?" So I'm going to start by answering that last question. I feel like a lot of times we will just say the gay community, and it's kind of like this umbrella or this like all encompassing thing. So I think for a lot of people who are not in the community, because we have, LGBTQIA and like all of these different acronyms, like it can be confusing, like how all of this plays. But I will say, and correct me if I'm wrong, for me, if when we identify like the gay community, to me, I don't necessarily mean that to be just gay men, right? Like to me, when I talk about the gay community, it's like the community as a whole. So I will say being bisexual is not gay. It's part of what as society we call the gay community. And I think because to say the gay community is, a little bit shorter than saying, the LGBTQIA plus. But in terms of individual, being a bisexual is not gay, because being bisexual is being attracted to and open to relationships with both men and women, whereas being gay is same gender. And so, Gabe, I would like for you to answer the question about what is appealing. Is it different with you from a guy or a girl, or is it truly really about, the connection? Oh, wait, I gotta unmute ya. Wait, you have to unmute you. There.
There we are. Well, Norman, it's a great question, and I just came across a meme the other day that I posted on Facebook, and it was from the LGBTQ community posting that I belong to, and it said, bisexual is not 50% straight, 50% gay. It's 100% bisexual. I truly like both sexes equally, because once again, it's not just the sex. Sex is 25% of any relationship. You still have to have that emotional part. Somebody that has a good heart, somebody you connect with, somebody is a good person, somebody has an intelligence, somebody that knows how to make conversation, somebody that has dreams, and then that spiritual part, somebody they believe in God, they believe in Buddha, maybe they believe in the cosmos. So it's not just about their physical being. There's a bit more to it, to me, that I think that's only 25%. And just back to where, me being in relationships with both men and women, the one thing I always came across was when I was dating a man, he was always concerned if I was going to leave him for a woman. If I was dating a woman, she was always concerned if I was going to leave her for a man. And I would always kind of find that strange, because you're already worried about me leaving you. I'm not going to leave you for a man or a woman. I'm going to leave because it's not working out. I'm going to leave because we have outgrown each other. We have already gone down our paths with each other and learned what we could. If we could keep on going on, we wouldn't be having that conversation. So that's how we look at it. It's not because they're a man or woman. It's because they're a good person. They're a good soul. They have heart. They have love. They're caring. They're smart. All that great stuff we all want in that package.
All right. And Mr. Jaden Nazario says, it seems like the term used as gay is more as an overall way of talking about someone who is part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Yeah, I definitely agree, which is why it's really important for us to have conversations like this that really talk about the very specific journeys of all of that. Because I feel like my journey and coming out um, as a gay black man is very different than James, you coming out as a bisexual man, or Charmaine, you coming out as a bisexual woman. And so that's why it's important for us to have this platform where we can really share our stories.
And
Let
have
me
the
just,
You
different
know,
generations too. You know, for me being coming from a older generation, I hate to say that, but now I'm 53 years old compared to say you're, 30s and so on. Uh, Coming out in different eras has different benefits and different setbacks too.
yeah,
I
I would
agree.
agree. Dr. Gina Franklin Liverpool says maybe the LGBTQ community will be understood and appreciated in areas other than in sexual areas who they are
Thank you.
sleeping with. A heterosexual person is not viewed necessarily from the person that the heterosexual has sex with. Hashtag good person. I love that. Adrian Hayes, who is
Yeah.
also, honey, Adrian is the senior gunkle in the Council of Gunkles. And he says, thanks, Gabriel. You said what I felt needed to be said. So
I
I
did.
definitely agree with all of that. So this is something that's interesting that I heard last week. So I was talking to an acquaintance of mine who identifies as bisexual, and he kind of talked about he kind of talked about being bisexual as the like a home, right? So it's like maybe it was like a home on your way journeying to the other place. So I know for me it was difficult to come out as gay, right? So like based on what he was saying is like sometimes being bisexual can be like a home for you on your transition to being able to verbally come out as gay or as whatever. So basically, he says it's a home for people. It could be sometimes a home for people um, while they're figuring out their identity. What do you say to that, Charmaine?
Well, also transitioning. I see what you're saying with the whole like transitioning part. But I do think that I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought.
No,
I
you're fine.
apologize. Um,
You want us to
oh
come back to you?
man.
We can come back to you.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
All right.
Please
Let's go ahead
do.
and hit up James. James, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I really like this question or this comment. I think it actually plays into a lot of the common misconceptions that both Charmaine, Gabriel, and myself are talking about. It's kind of the idea of I'm going to say that I'm bisexual before I um, pick a side. And I think that that's where we got to be really careful. We got to be really, really careful, even people inside the LGBTQ community, to not uh, segregate the letters, segregate the people. I think it plays into a little bit of bi erasure, kind of what you were talking about your reading earlier. When we say that it's just a path, or that it's just the middle ground, it really does take away from the people that you're broadcasting tonight, that genuinely don't care about people's really what is in between their legs. They care about their mind, they care about their soul, they care about their heart, they care about their body. But it's not necessarily a preference that is in the middle. There's again different sexuality and preferences on that scale.
Okay. All right. Um. So Charmaine.
Norman.
Oh, go ahead, Gabriel.
No,
What you got?
let me chime in here.
Go ahead.
So like I said, my first relationship I was with a man for we were young. I was 21, he was 20. We were together for 6.5 years, almost 7. I was dedicated to that relationship. I was saying this could be forever. Unfortunately, it did not. It lasted its trial, its term. The way it was supposed to go, the whole learning experience. I was single for 5 years, and then I met my now ex-wife, and I've been single for 9 years. When I was married for 10 years, I was dedicated to that relationship. I wasn't dedicated to the sex. I was dedicated to the lifestyle that I wanted to make with my partner, not just because they were a man or they're a woman, because they're another human being that wants to have joy and happiness and goodness in their life, and that's how I look at it. And it was funny because when I tell people my story about how my first relationship I was with a guy and then I was with a woman, they're like, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be with a woman first and realize you're gay and be with a guy? I'm like, and any of that, did I ever say I was gay? Do I have to be labeled? Do I have to actually say I'm bisexual? Why can't I just be another human being that loves other human beings? So that's how my philosophy and my lifestyle has been, even bringing it to my children's education and knowledge about who I am and how their mother and I met out of a gay bar, and why I have gay friends, straight friends, black friends, Asian friends, rich friends, poor friends, which I have, drag queen friends. I have an array of friends. I have the wonderful Norman as a friend, and not because of their sexuality, it's because of their people. They bring happiness and joy in my life. They bring conversation, and that's what I want to find in a partner, not just what's between their legs. I want to find more about them. It's in their heart, mind, and soul. So I'll keep going back to that. But yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to put you all on the hot seat. Okay. I am going to remove myself from the stream and I'm going to ask you all the question and you guys are going to take turns answering it. And I want you, and this, wait, great. Oh, wait a minute. We have another comment. Dr. Gina Frank Liverpool says, great coverage, wonderful show. Thank you for humanizing all of us. Hashtag no labels, love instead. I love that. Adrian says, let's change the title of that box from bi to beautifully inclusive. I love that. So for the hot seat, y'all, for the hot seat, I want you all, this question just came through on my email, so we're gonna share it. For the people who think bisexual equals polyamorous, or because you're bisexual, that means that you are into open types of situations. So we're going to start with Charmaine, and then we're going to go to James, and then we're going to go to Gabriel. So this is, and Gabe, you're muted, so when it comes around to you, you'll have to unmute yourself. So Charmaine, I'm going to remove myself, kick it off.
Well, in terms of bisexuality, one thing I think that we haven't yet touched on is fetishizing it in terms, I don't know if other women have experienced this, but, having it be something that's like fetishized instead of humanized, which is something that I'm really glad that we're actually doing because it's not, again, having to choose between one person or the other, but actual attributes to who the person is, what they have to offer. So that's my answer.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. I think that again, I think that we need to be very careful of the comments and the lines that kind of get thrown out there. I think that this plays into the over sexualization of bisexual people. That because we don't pick a side, that we want to be with everybody and everyone at the same time. I definitely think that people then look to it, as Charmaine said, for the fetishes that are associated with polyamory. But no, I think it's the same thing as in a heterosexual relationship, in a homosexual relationship, that you have choices, and you and your partner or your partners, if you guys choose to live that lifestyle, and by all means, I think you should be able to do that and be happy. But I don't think that it's a preference that all bisexual people want to be a part of. So I just wanted to be careful with the over sexualization of bisexual people.
I like that. So yeah, so a lot of people think like, oh, you get the best of both worlds. Not necessarily. You get the best of both headaches too. You get that you get to experience both ends. You get to know what heartache is from being your heart broken from a man, and you know what your heart broken from a woman. And nobody wants their heart broken, but it gets broken, but from either one. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It's just another human being that you fell in love with. It had nothing to do with sex, and hopefully you can make it last. I mean, mine lasted pretty long. I mean, 7 and 10 years. But then, unfortunately, you do. Sometimes it doesn't work, and you get that heartache. And it didn't matter if it was a guy or if it was a girl. It hurts. So people constantly thinking like, okay, well, do you find more of a female looking like a guy, or do you find more of a guy looking like a female? I can't say
Yep.
what I'm gonna feel like that night or that meeting if I meet somebody. I'm gonna find them attractive for lots of reasons. So if we're gonna narrow it down to keep on saying bisexual, then I would prefer to leave off that sexual and say just bi, just I like both. And that's the letters you have to use, and I prefer to use that. And like your friend said earlier, what was that? Be inclusive,
Beautifully inclusive.
beautifully inclusive. Thank you so much, Norman.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's great. So I guess my question is for the viewers and for me, I want to know, what do you, as a bisexual person, what does it mean to live authentically? Because I think that and I'm asking this because I truly want to understand, because you all know that I'm an LGBTQ plus confidence coach. This is what I do. But and I know who I am as an authentic gay black man. Like, I understand what that means. But I want to provide you the opportunity to say, what does it mean for me to live authentically as a bisexual person? And again, what is crazy for me is, I can say I'm gay, which obviously comes from homosexual, right? So there's that sexual part. But I feel bi is just like, you automatically think of sex. And I think because it's like, bi is bisexual, as you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not another name for it. Like, I can be gay, queer, or any of these things to define me as a homosexual person. So let's
Well,
start with Gabe.
yes.
What does it mean for you to be authentically you and authentically bisexual?
Being able to be open with my children. My son is 22, will be 23 next month. My daughter just turned 15, and my daughter, she has her lifestyle. But I myself, I like to say I have an alternative lifestyle. So this way, the whole sexual thing is not really there. There's no bisexual there. When you say I have an alternative lifestyle, I like to go to alternative clubs. Maybe it's playing with words, maybe it's pussyfooting around with them, but it's really my business, and it's not yours unless I feel like I want to include you in on my business. So that's why I like to kind of say I live with it, knowing that I'm open and honest, and saying that, I am bisexual if you want to know if I have to label it that way. But let's try and like not talk about the sex part of it. Let's talk about the love part of it.
Right, right, right.
Right.
I hear you, Charmaine. What does it mean to you to be, authentically bisexual woman?
Well, I think it means to me being honest with myself and, my attractions, being honest and what I want from a partner. And, at the certain points of my life, that person, that woman, or that man fulfilled what I was looking for out of that relationship, what I needed from a person. So being at least honest with yourself and what your needs are, I think is like a huge step, in accepting yourself as a bisexual person. And, just being, like Gabe said, just to be able to talk about it with your family or be open with it, about it with your family. I did talk about it with my husband before I did this, but he was like, you've always been honest that you are a bisexual woman, so I have no issues, and I think he does agree with, the whole fetishizing of it, but it's just not something personally I'm into. Like, I do like to be in monogamous relationships, but again, just being honest with myself and what those needs are, that's really being an authentic to who you are, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So my question then becomes, what do you feel you need from the LGBTQ plus community as a bisexual person? Because I had a episode a couple of maybe about a month ago now, talking about the L word, and I had a cast of lesbians on the show, And we talked about a disconnect between the lesbian community and the gay community. And when I say gay community in this aspect, I'm meaning lesbian women and gay men. And they talked about the disconnect there. I would imagine, based on some of the things I'm reading, that you you may feel that from both sides, which is kind of like a double whammy. So I would like you to verbalize what, as a bisexual person that's part of this amazing rainbow, like this LGBTQ, I mean LGB, like you're literally like right there, right? Like, so you're in it with us, you're part of the community. So what is it that you need from the rest of the community to feel supported? And I'm going to start with James.
Yeah, thank you. That's such a great question. I would say that there is a huge disconnect. And it's also what our trans brothers and sisters have to deal with on their coming out story and on their path to changing into the person that they want to be. I would definitely say that we need there to be less of a disconnect. I volunteer for one of the largest LGBTQ organizations in the country, and it I will say that even in settings where we anticipate to be among lesbian, gays, and transgender people and other identities, we also still get the automatic like you're gay, like you're married, so you must be straight, you must be gay, and I think there just needs to be some openness. I think that there needs to the biggest thing that I tell people is there really needs to not be assumptions into people. You don't know other people's lives. You really don't know what's going on in their house. So I think we need to stop making assumptions about straight people, about gay people, about lesbians, about transgender. But it comes from the community a lot of times within. And we're doing it to ourselves. And I think that we need to work together in order to change that.
I think that was beautifully said. Gabriel, what do you think? Like, as a bisexual man, what do you need from the LGBTQ plus community?
Oh, wow. It's been a great accepting community out here since I've been here for 30 years. I'm originally from the San Fernando Valley, which is only like, 20 minutes north of LA, for West Hollywood and stuff. I got blessed. I had a sister who came out before me. Um, God rest her soul. We just, celebrated her birthday. We lost her some years back. But she helped me to when I came out. She was there. She supported, she gave me literature to read. And that's the one thing, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're the LGBTQ part, we all come out at one point. And having just National Coming Out Day a couple of days ago, we all come out in different ways to different people. And that's one thing I like to say, that to be able to come out in a safe place and feel comfortable is really what we need, not just in the LGBTQ community, but also in the straight community. Unfortunately, I'm 53 years old. I went to my younger sister's birthday party just a few weeks back, and I made a compliment that my nephew was growing up very handsome, and of course, people had to still make that gay joke, and that's where I find it sad that, I'm 53 years old. I came out at 21. I've been with women and guys, and yet the only thing you see is just gay. Gay, 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 gay. And it's so funny because I know myself. I like whatever. I could give my nephew a compliment. I could give a man, I could give a woman a compliment, and doesn't have to be in a sexual way. But in other people's mind, no matter what, if you're lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, queer, no matter what, you're gay. And that's sad because they're the ones that are going to miss out on great, wonderful people that have their own way of lives, that want to just be happy. They're not trying to bother you. They have the freedom and equality that you have. We just want to live equally just like you do. What does it have to do with what's going on in our bedrooms? Our
Right.
bedroom has nothing to do with what's going on in our workplace, what's going on in our social activities, that is between whoever I bring there in the privacy of our time.
Okay.
So that's why I look at, like, listen, live and let live. And, you know, I'll just finish it on that.
Wow. That okay. All right. So Charmaine.
Yeah. So, in terms of like inclusivity more in the LGBT plus community, like that's what I think I need more because again with the like you need to choose or you're just, not you're not making a decision, you have to be one or the other. You know, it doesn't it no, we need to be more inclusive and understand that there's a lot of other people out here that feel the same way that we do, that aren't just going through a phase and they're not, just trying to fuck everything that's walking because again, that's not my goal. So, just a sense of like I would like to be a part of the brotherhood and sisterhood. I mean, I'll be 100% honest. I've gone to two gay pride events here locally, and I went with my husband one time, and I went with a group of friends another time, and I just didn't feel as part of the community as everybody else was. And I mean, I don't want to be pointed out in the middle of a crowd, but you know, y'all my sisters and my brothers too. I want to be made to feel the same way, not just that I'm a line walker. I've been called that a couple times. Just like no, I'm bisexual. So
I know that's right. Listen, Adrian Hayes says, here are some new titles: An Evolved Human, Elevated Spirit, Seer of Spirits, and Beautifully Inclusive. I love all of those. I absolutely love all of those because I think it desexualizes the orientation
yes,
and really allows, and I think this is going to be good for a lot of people because I think a lot of people have held those kind of ideologies or that mentality that bisexual is like just that, it's sexual. It has to do with sex. It has to do with wanting to have sex with men and women, but not necessarily like Charmaine was talking about the monogamy part of it. And like Gabe was saying, like I just want to be with a partner. Like I don't care about what's going on down below. I just want to have that connection. And so wow, y'all have really taught me so very much. And I hope that when we do part two that you will join us for part two. But as we get ready to close, each of the shows, I always, because you know what, you have the people like my mom and Adrian and all the other people who are commenting, and but there's people that are either watching now or will watch later that don't have the courage to comment, that don't have the courage to like, that don't have the courage to share or engage. So I like to leave a little, as we close, I like to leave a little message for that. So for that person, maybe it's a young person who is like feeling conflicted because of the pressures of having to be gay or straight. You know what I mean? Or just whatever it is that they may be going through on the inside. What do you say to that young person that's looking that says, Charmaine, like I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to be able to be bold enough to live authentically. And so I want to give you, Charmaine, a moment to speak directly to that person.
well, I just want to tell anybody out there that's maybe feeling like they're not comfortable, you don't have to make a decision. Everyone grows and evolves as a person. And, as long as you're, I would say, like what my mother said, as long as they're loving you, treating you appropriately, like, honestly, that's what matters. The relationship you have with that person is what matters. And, like, you should feel comfortable to not be comfortable with what you're going through. Everyone evolves and changes, especially when you're young. I mean, just to touch on like my experience, just thinking like I'm only lesbian, I can't explore those other feelings, just realizing that I had to do some work on myself and then I could actually be the person that I feel that I'm meant to be. So just, I guess, take time, be patient, and don't let society make you feel like you have to be one or the other. You can be both. And it's really about love. It's not about the sexual part of bisexual. It's about love, and we should all be loving our partners, regardless of who that happens to be.
Well, all right, baby, you don't let us have it. Gabe, what do you say to that person that's watching that is like, man, Gabe, how are you at 53 years old able to be so open, so proud? Because I mean, we have to be real. Coming out in that era was completely different. For even like I felt like I struggled coming out in 2007, right? Like because I came from a very unapologetically black and Christian household. So I can only imagine what that would have been back then. So what do you say, knowing what you know now, Gabe? What do you say to that person that's like, damn, Gabe, I wish I could be as bold as you. I wish I could be as courageous as you or as strong as you. And you'll have to unmute yourself.
Well, I tell them, you got to be true to yourself. I had to be true to myself because I couldn't live my life for them. I couldn't live my life for my father. I couldn't live my life for my brothers and sisters. Um, I had to live for me. And if it was living in confusion, because that's the one thing I always hear from my dad, for instance, you're confused, and why choose when you could be confused? That's how I like to say it. So I'd rather live in confusion instead of live a lie. So be true to yourself, because when you're true to yourself, that's going to lead you to where you need to be in life. That led me here to Las Vegas 30 years ago. I left my family, all my brothers and sisters, everybody down there, and came here to start a life. And I'm thankful for that because it brought me to where I am today. Being a single father of two wonderful children, but being a part of the LGBT community, I've helped get a lot of things started here in Vegas, from Prize to Go to Rainbow to Black and White Party to a lot of different things, to help get that going, to be able to step back and see the younger generation come in and take over now. That's why you want to come out. That's why you want to be true to yourself, because we always need somebody to take somebody else's place so they can step away and you guys can bring your new ideas, fresh blood in. And that's what I can say to somebody who's looking to say, listen, it doesn't matter if you're the L to the B to the B to the T to the Q, just be you.
Wow, wow, Gabe, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's crazy because I feel like you amongst the other guests have really been able to see me evolve. Like, I mean, you met me when I was like what I consider like a baby gay. I was, new, coming out, like hot mess, having a good
Yes,
time.
yes.
And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still go out and, do what I do and have a good time. It's just really nice to be able to share this moment with you because you've literally been around for several different transitions in my life. And you've seen me move and elevate and grow through space. And so I just appreciate you for being here. And we're going to lunch next week. All right,
Definitely, definitely.
James, what do you say to that person who's like, man, James is doing it. He's able to be openly bisexual. He has a fiance. He's living his life. How? Wow, I want to be like that. What do you say to that person listening?
Yeah, I say to them, I say to everybody watching, everybody that supported me, and even those that maybe haven't supported me or us. It's kind of cliche to say, you can't really love somebody until you love yourself, but it's definitely the truth. You really cannot love another person 100% wholeheartedly until you figure out how to truly love yourself. So I would definitely say that it is about love. We want to give love. You want to be love, and you definitely want to receive love. So I say that be love. But most importantly, right now, I'm gonna throw it in there. Be woke to the things that are happening around you. We have a lot of things that are coming up this next election, and I think it's very important for all of us to have this discussion and to continue supporting one another and also supporting young people coming out. So thank you.
I love that. So let me bring my mic back closer here. There we go.
Vote Biden.
So just
Sorry.
remember. So listen. So I want to invite you all to connect with my guest. So if you're interested to connect with James, I invite you to connect with him at James J Santana on all platforms. You can find him. And James, I have to say, I'm so blessed to have made this connection with you, and I really hope that and cultivate an amazing friendship because just in this experience and preparing for this show, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and sharing the space with you.
Thank
So
you so
again,
much.
if you want to connect with James, you can connect with him at James J Santana on all platforms. If you want to connect with, oh wait, hold on, what am I doing? How did this happen? Okay, there we go. My gosh. All right. So if you want to connect with Gabriel, you can connect with him at mr.mares.gm@gmail.com, honey. All the dots. So again, that's mr.mares.gm@gmail.com if you want to connect with Gabe. And last but certainly not least, if you want to connect with my guest Charmaine, you can connect at Charzilla25 on Instagram. That's the only thing she says. She wanted you to make sure. Don't be checking for her on Twitter. Don't be checking for her on Snapchat. She has already told you. She is on Instagram and Facebook. So if you want to connect with Charmaine, you can do so at Charzilla25 on Instagram or Charmaine Barnett on Facebook. So I just want to thank you again for tuning in. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Adrian is going in. Step 1, define your truth for you. Step 2, find your tribe and construct your limits. Step 3, be sickening. Step 4, love unapologetically. I think that is such a great way to end the show. Step 1,
Yes.
your truth. Step 2, find your tribe and construct your limits. Step 3, be sickening. And 4, love unapologetically. I think that is such a great way for us to end our show tonight. I just want to thank again our my sponsor, which is LIE, which is Liberate, Innovate, and Elevate International. Join us for the Entanglement of the Mind, Body, and Business Expo on November 14th here in Las Vegas. As I mentioned to you, we are currently accepting donations, whether that be socks, other personal care items, toiletries. Like, I want to show out, y'all. Like, I am so happy that Miss Kenya Young allowed me to be part of this. She had already had this whole event planned, and I messaged her like, girl, I need to be part of this. And she made me a part of this. And so I definitely want to come through and do my part. So I am accepting donations for anything that can be donated to the children in foster care. I will post the donation link here under the show at the end of the broadcast. If you want to Cash App, if you want to do any of those things, we are accepting donations because we want to really show people to be free from the things that hinder us mentally, physically, and in business. So again, make sure you tune in and come out to the Mind, Body, and Business Expo on November the 14th. All right, y'all. Listen, you already know who it is. I've already told you who it is, but I don't mind giving you a slight reminder. Again, a special thanks to my special guests, James, Gabriel, and Charmaine for being on the show tonight. But I'm your best friend, your good neighbor. No, I done messed that up. See, y'all, this Bud Light got me together. Anyway, you already know who it is, but I don't mind giving you a slight reminder. It's your best friend, your good Judy, your next door neighbor, your niece, your nephew, your cousin. And recently, I have been promoted to your great auntie. My name is Norman J. Liverpool IV, and I'm so happy to share another What's the LGBT with you. Baby, listen, next week is nothing to be toyed with. I am being joined by the one and the only AIM strategist, Benir Pierre, and we are going to present a topic to you, Double Trouble, my Black gay experience. So please make sure you're tuning in next Wednesday here and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for What's the LGBT. Bye, friends. Don't forget, join me next Wednesday for another edition of What's the LGBT? My Black Gay Experience.